All right. Well, thanks for joining us here. We've got a podcast going. I've got actually now I can call him a friend. Donny and I have been working in a similar marketplace, the same marketplace, for our entire lives.
Yes.
And we've actually never met in person, which is really surprising. And yet we had the opportunity to meet in person last night. I enjoyed our conversation so much so that I said, Donny, look, I would love to have you do a podcast with us here today. To be honest, Donny, I don't do a lot of podcasts. I've been on podcasts, but I've never had the opportunity to host them. So thank you for doing this with me.
Of course, I'm excited about it. I've been on both sides of the mic, so this is it's fun to be just a part of a podcast with a new friend and have a good conversation, hopefully.
Well, give me a grade after this is done.
A grade.
Let's see what we can do.
I'll give you a grade. So far, A+.
Okay, I appreciate that. But no, what I'm excited about having Donny on the podcast for is, as I said, multiple reasons. But at the foundation, what caused me to reach out to Donny yesterday, and I want to share this, and I admire it, and I really do appreciate it. Like Donny, and we're going to talk more about his story. I've grown up in real estate my entire life. My dad brought a national, international brand, Remax, to Maryland back in the mid-'80s. I've grown up in this industry my entire life. I love this industry like I found Donny does. And, when it comes to leadership and franchise ownership, you're out to attract the very top agents in that marketplace. And it's not an easy job. It is not easy because in a marketplace that has so much competition, you got to find a way to differentiate yourself, stand out from the crowd, and erase all the rest of the noise that's in the market. And having the confidence, the courage just to reach out directly to some of those top agents in a marketplace and say, hey, you know what? I've got something of value that I can provide to you and your team to help you and your career and your clients. And I don't get recruited very often. Maybe my team does a really good job
of recruiting you.
I don't know. My team does a really good job of creating roadblocks, I guess, for that. But I got a personal message from Donny. And I got to tell you, I've been on the road quite a bit here over the last few weeks, with Final Offer. But I got a personal message from Donny, not only just, an email like everybody else, but send me a nice booklet.
Yeah.
With a personal video. It not only went to my house, but I also found out it went to my management team as well in a separate video. So, Donny, I appreciate it. I admire it. Thank you for taking that step.
Of course.
Limiting the rest of the noises out there and making that
started the conversation, which was good stuff.
I was happy just to say hello.
And now I made a new friend.
Yes. So, Donny, thank you for being here with us today.
Of course.
What I'd love to hear more is, your story. We had a chance to connect last night, today, talking about our history in this industry. And what I'm so impressed by is that your parents were in the business.
Mm-hmm.
You grew up in the business.
Yep.
You took over your dad's company. 2019, you said?
Yeah, 16. So I got my license in 02, 03. Sold exclusively, ran a big team, and was successful. 2016 is when my dad, I kind of been working alongside him for a few years and helping lead the company. But 16 officially, I became our COO, kind of partnered with my dad, and was kind of us running it together. He was a lot of the front man, doing the recruiting. I was really kind of helping build out our foundation, kind of take us from that mom and pop to that next level of service, that next level of professionalism that we're trying to get to. And it's tough to do that alone, So from 16 to 19, we were a good team and kind of grew it together. And then 19, I took over CEO. My dad kind of really moved into retirement in 19, but 20 kind of officially. So I've been kind of the sole leader out front there for the last 4 or 5 years. I've got a great management team and obviously, a lot of people to help me do that we do here. But we really kind of took off growth-wise around that 15, 16 time frame where my dad and I came together, really started to organize our recruiting efforts. We've added about 1,000 agents a year, the last 5, 6, 7 years since we've been able to really partner together, come up with these good things, and just continue to grow our business in a positive way where it's got a great deal for agents, but also great services, because like we talked about last night, deal is one thing, but you have this great services. So that's really where we grew our brokerage up, and my dad and I were a great team. And if you have family business, anybody that's working with family knows that there's some 99% of the time it's great. There was the 1% of the time there was a little bit of dad and son fighting, but it's great. We have a really close family. We probably have like 15 Samsons actually that work in our company. When my uncle's got one of our big teams, so it's really great to have a family affair and everybody's kind of a part of it.
Yes, no, and I appreciate that. And yes, I had the opportunity to work with my dad as well, and I'll never replace that. I mean, it's that was just such a important time in my life, I'm sure, as you say it.
Absolutely.
Your face as well. But I admire what you guys have done, because you said, mom and pop shop, right? But what does that mean? It means family.
Yeah.
And, for you, I can see it in our conversations we have. your brokerage to you is a family.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it's actually, so we have a core culture wall, and it's be nice, be professional, pay it forward, and then the fourth thing down is family. And literally just today I had 2 recruiting emails, and somebody was like interested, and I directed my director of recruiting, but was like, hey, we'd love to have you join our family. That really is how we try to think of a brokerage. It started with family. My director of recruiting is my dad's best friend of 40 years. Like, we're close-knit. Now we've grown bigger, obviously. So we didn't all grow up in the same area anymore. But I think we try to keep that family culture through 6,000 agents. And every office and every area is going to have their own subculture and subfamily. But I think if you try to give that feel to everybody, then you're creating something that you're really proud of and you love to be a part of.
Yeah, and the importance of being in an organization that's run like a family is knowing that they have somebody they can count on. Somebody that's there to support them, to back them up in the great times, but also in the difficult times.
Yeah, and I think that's been really important now, right? And obviously some of the things that we're all been talking about at this conference, but, popping on and being, I'm as transparent. I mean, I wear it on my sleeve, but announcements made Friday. I had town halls with, 500 to 1,000 agents Tuesday and Wednesday on Zoom. I did 2 days so that they could make it into one, but it's like, heart of your sleeve, you're there for you, open up, let's talk, let's answer your questions, let's just be here for each other. And I think that that's super important. I visit a different office every week all over, sometimes 2, but we at least get to a new one every week because it's about being there, and feeling that family culture. Now it can wear you out, one person running around like I do, but I think that that's it's super important to stay connected no matter how big you get, that they know that leadership, whether it's me or any of my other broker managers or COOs, or that we're here for you at all times,
which is so important. And it's the word leadership, it's a big word.
Yeah.
And I see it with some of the great owners. I put you in that list as well, to say a quality of a great leader is the ability to understand that their job is to lead leaders.
Yeah.
And in real estate, we have the opportunity to have a business that supports the life that we want to live.
Yep.
But that means that they have to become leaders in doing that. And as you mentioned, yes, there's a lot of changes occurring in our industry, a lot of uncertainty in our industry right now. And in supporting training leaders is a challenge right now.
It is. And I love the way you said that about all getting together and leaders. Is it's one thing I always talk about. Is like, stop thinking about it as you sell homes, as you're running your own business. Each individual realtor is their own business owner. And you talk about leadership at a time like this. That's one of the reasons you're here, is like, we are tasked with leading your own team or leading your own brokerage or and everybody's a little bit scared. And that's one reason that's great to be or places like this, because we can all talk to each other, lean on each other. I sit there this morning and get great guidance from Steve Murray in a room, and he's like, it's invaluable to have other people to bounce these things off of and have conversations so that you can then be your best leader to everybody else.
That's right. And, as we know, because we've been in the business for quite some time now, with every great challenge, there comes great opportunity.
Absolutely.
And what I see in the industry as a whole, yes, do I see that we will see a decline in agents in our industry?
Sure.
I do believe that that's the case. I'm sorry to see some of those agents go, but you know what? I think in the most part, our industry, in a sense, enabled people in the industry that should not have otherwise been here.
Yeah.
And consumers deserve better. I do believe that.
I didn't catch flack for it, but I was on a stage and 2 different times. One event I was hosting with 300 people, and I said, I think our industry is too easy to get into, and I think it's too easy to stay in, and I think that while it's great, it can really hurt our perception to the public out there, because you're right. Like the consumers out there, they deserve a high level of service, and you and I are going to give it, and the people that are really good at it, the professionals at a conference like this. And I think that if it unintended consequence is that we all have to lift our game and we all become better, more professional, because then I think that our industry will continue to rise in the way that the public looks at us, which will be a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, we know last year, NAR came out with the stats for 2023, showing that the average agent in 2023 sold 1.8 houses in 23. What that represents is that 50% of the membership of the National Association of Realtors sold 1 or 0 houses last year. And consumers think that we're all the same.
Right.
And that could not be further from the truth. So as we go through this, upcoming challenge where opening opportunities, could be coming to our way, is I would be interested to hear from you, like your perspective for us as agents to elevate what it is we do. share our value. We've got to find a unique way to differentiate ourselves from the other agents in the marketplace so we can show them that we're not like everybody else.
Sure.
So for you as leading your, your brokerage and your agents, how are you coaching them to encourage them to show them how they can differentiate themselves in the marketplace?
So I think that the keys are to be very transparent and to show your value, right? We do a great job, at least, I think most good agents do. We have a listing presentation and we've set down exactly how we're going to market for your home. And this is what we're going to do. We're used to doing those things, right? And these are all the great things. I'm going to stage it. I'm going to pay for this fixer and I'm going to do these pictures. We do all those things, right? But then from the buyer side, it's just like it's so funny because we don't present ourselves at all. We have buyer contracts in our area and a lot of areas don't even have those. So we're used to that buyer agency, but we don't have a buyer consultation. So one thing we've been teaching a lot of the last couple of months is how to create a buyer presentation. You should put the same time and effort into it. One great part about having physical locations like we have is, look, bring them in, sit down with them, go over what they like, what they don't like, talk to them about the loan process, talk to them about all the different things that we're going to do from a buyer agent perspective that are going to help them. Yeah, it's cool, the Realtor.com, the 115 things, but most of that is irrelevant, right? Let's get, when you too much, it's almost like, okay, you're just making, like, blow down to the 20 most important things you're going to do as part of this and have that. It's like, these are the things you don't realize. It's like the research that goes into this and knowing all the disclosures, knowing all the documents, making sure that I'm going to have your back and get you to a successful closing on the home you want. And that's a little bit of, and I'm off course here a little bit about this, the unintended consequence that I'm a little afraid of is, right now we're talking about the lawsuits that have been settled, but wait, I think the 6 to 9 months out, I think the lawsuits are going to be a different thing. It's going to be buyers that got taken advantage of because they didn't have representation and they didn't realize when you waive an appraisal contingency because the listing agent asked you to, that you have to make up the $30,000 gap, or they told me I did not have an inspection or if I was going to win the property. So now all of a sudden they move into a property and it's, mold infested, or this was not broken, or I didn't realize that I need an new HVAC in a month and it was $10,000 that I don't have. Like, these are the things that you tell a few of these anecdotal stories, and be like, this is my job to protect you, to make sure that I'm going to get you in this house for the best deal possible, the best contingencies we can negotiate, I'm going to protect you. We might not be able to get every contingency possible because it's a competitive market, but at least I'm going to be able to steer you through it because you don't know what you don't know right now, and this is the most important financial decision of your life, and to think that you would go it alone or without somebody, it's great, but I think that if we have a great buyer consultation, we sit down and we go over all these things, I think it's going to make them be like, well, of course I need you, and I think we need to do those things. So,
having somebody that they can rely on, somebody that they can see as an advocate on their side, a true fiduciary, but most importantly, somebody that they can trust. And, I know this, you've brought up the word a number of times, and it's the word transparency. And, I believe it's that, transparency equals trust. And we're in an industry right now where there's a lack of trust in the industry. And that's a core reason around, the idea of the lawsuit and everything that's going on. But transparency. So the word transparency, it's, it's kind of the word of the moment in a sense, right? And what does transparency mean to you when it comes to a real estate transaction, relationships, what have you?
I think it's being as open and honest as possible, and I think as realtors, especially on the buy side, for years, we've just never had a commission conversation, and I think it's important that we're going to have those conversations. And if you're not prepared to have those conversations, then you're going to struggle to stay successful in this business, I think. But I think being transparent is, I had a good line this morning, but we've been trained to hide from the public all the hard stuff, all the dirty stuff we do to help them get to the finish line. Like, be more transparent about that. Like, these are all the hard things I'm going to do, but I'm here for you to do those things. So I think it comes just being as open and honest as you can be. Look, I've been that way from the beginning, whether it's a recruiting seminar or with my brokerage, or when you're dealing with clients, it's like, look, here's where the money is, here's the reality is. I always joke, like, if you just always tell the truth, then you never have to remember what lies you told, because just be as open and honest as you can. And if the truth scares people, then it scares people, but they have to hide from it. So transparency to me just means being as open and honest as possible, at all times, explaining the process when we talk about a transaction, or the process when it comes to me as a broker leader, talking to my agents, my teams, my staff, being honest. People can deal with the truth a lot better if you just give them the whole truth.
You're absolutely correct. You know, it's interesting because with the idea of transparency and being honest, which is just the right way to do business.
Sure.
So many agents are resistant to being exposed.
Yeah.
What do you think? Why would an agent otherwise be, resistant to being exposed and being transparent?
I think that if they're not really proud of the professionalism that they are, and maybe they do think that they're almost, you brought up a point before that it's weird that on the buyer side forever, we've all just basically made the same amount of money, right? For the most part of a transaction, whereas you and I have been in the business for 25 years, 23 years, or whatever it's been. Somebody could have come in yesterday, never shows the property, doesn't really know the contract, doesn't whatever, gets paid the same thing. The people that aren't going to want to be transparent or be open and honest and have the discussions are the people that they're not really confident that they have the ability, that they have the chops to be that realtor for them. If you do, then you wouldn't have any problem being open and honest. So I worry a little bit the people that are going to be exposed is because they realize they don't really know what they're doing yet, and they're not doing a lot of good work. And if you are that realtor out there, then find a buddy, find a mentor at your brokerage, find somebody to be on a team for a little bit to learn the right way, whatever it is that's best for you. But if you're not ready to be open and honest, you're worried about being exposed to what you don't know, then you need to find somebody to help you get there,
Yeah.
or you're not going to last in this industry right now.
It came up yesterday. I thought it was just such a great analogy. When it comes to everybody, consumers convinced that we're all the same.
Yeah.
If you as a consumer knew that you had an option to be able to drive a Ferrari or own a Ferrari,
Right.
or drive or own a Honda,
Right.
if you knew that you had the opportunity to have either one of those, which one would you choose?
The Ferrari.
Because the performance of the Ferrari is significantly higher than that of the Honda.
And chicks dig it.
And just
My wife's right over there. Like,
she agreed. But
she agreed.
but if a consumer knew there was in fact a difference,
Yeah.
would they be more inclined to have an opportunity to go drive that Ferrari than the Honda?
I think you're probably right. Yeah, and I think that's we got to all show that we're all Ferraris then, I guess, right?
Yep.
Is that's the but if you're a Honda and you don't have the, and look, Honda's great.
No.
The analogy is good, but I don't want to offend anybody out there having Hondas, but I think that if you think of yourself as a Honda, then you're going to get that back out. If you still think of yourself as a Honda as an agent, then I think the key is to educate yourself, get a part of the all of your brokerages, whatever you're in. I mean, I know in ours there's constant education on how to get better. There's constant ways to keep educating yourself so you go from the Honda to the next class. So look, we're not all going to be, Nathan Dart right off the get-go. I mean, you got to learn. You got to do a lot of stuff to get to your level, right? But, I think that you got to then strive to get there, so that you can be the Ferrari so that you're ready to go, and it's not going to happen overnight. Neither one of us became successful the first day we started. Just because our parents were in it, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to that point,
And there will continue to be more.
Yes.
And we look
probably today.
Some sick reason we're attracted to even more of this. But
I know.
But it makes us better. It allows us to be able to grow. So, as you know, we and I have been talking about this before, and, we launched this company, Final Offer, in the DC Metro in late October of 2022.
Yeah.
And as we're launching Final Offer, we're now in 10 states. We launched Canada 3 weeks ago, which is very exciting. Ontario. We're expanding into Alberta. We'll be there at mid to end of May. And we're continuing to expand.
That's
and,
great.
What's interesting is my job at Final Offer is to identify those marketplaces that we'd be otherwise going to, but partner with the very top brokers and teams in those marketplaces because they are the Ferraris. And they themselves are looking for a way that they can differentiate themselves from the other agents in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
And with Final Offer, as you know, it allows buyers, sellers, and agents the ability to negotiate their real estate transactions with complete transparency.
Oh, you're full circle. I see what you did there.
What's my grade so far? Doing pretty good.
A+.
But we got to find a way to differentiate ourselves from the other agents in the marketplace, showing that, we are the Ferrari. And for consumers that are convinced that all agents are paid the same, which they're not, because it's always been negotiable.
Right. Yes.
We've got to step up and say, look, here's how we can expose who we are as agents so you as a consumer can see the results that you're otherwise going to get.
Absolutely.
With Final Offer, not only do we have the ability to negotiate those transactions with complete transparency, giving a buyer an opportunity and a fair chance to be able to compete in a home that they ultimately desire, but also for a seller, put them in the very best position to demand as much competition as possible.
Right.
But yet, as it makes sense, I mean, it makes complete sense to me. I wouldn't be here advocating for final offer and going to market and spending my time away from my wife and kids, which are, my biggest thing that I'm doing for anything is if I didn't believe in what we're doing with final offer, meaning that it is truly the best thing for everybody involved, agents, buyers, sellers, everybody having a fair chance. But yet, as we bring any new technology or some called disruption to a marketplace, there's always an objection. And, what would you say, and no, there's no offense taken here, I'm just asking a question, or what would you see as the objections that agents and consumers might have when it comes to final offer?
So agents, I think that there is I think the product's great, first of all. So I don't want to screw also. I think with agents, I think a little bit of a fear that you or I would have as an agent might be that, and not you because you're all in on final offer, but a little bit of a fear would be this. We're taking punches as an industry right now. We're having to adjust. Now with every adjustment becomes an opportunity to excel and thrive and all those things. But I think that there's always a little bit of a fear, and I don't think that we'll have this because we're a people industry. We're helping people buy or sell the biggest financial decision of their life, biggest thing, $500,000, $700,000, $1 million. But the travel industry, is our scary part, right? All of a sudden, you could buy your plane tickets online. Travel agents just stop existing for the most part, right? So I think when you see technology that's powerful, and it's great that it's powerful, and it's an opportunity to do that, but there's a little bit of a fear factor with agents that is it going to marginalize me a little bit more? Now I know that we've had this discussion, and agents are very much a part of it, but as technology gets better, do we become less? And I don't think so because there's some discussion, but that would be the fear, I think. Mm-hmm. With consumers, I think that the only pushback or fear I might have with that is that I think that there's a way more transparency. I think for the most part, consumers would appreciate the idea that I think most of them don't trust that the agents are always telling the truth. If, the two other offers came on the property, we got to make our, no buyer in the history of the world believes their agent when they come back and say that. Their listing agent's lying to us, right? But the transparency of having it online. The only thing that consumers I could see a little pushback on is there's still some fear of computers in general with some, especially some of the people that maybe are a little bit older than us, that they don't want to mess with computers. They don't want to put stuff in offers. My dad doesn't download apps because he says that's how they're tracking him or whatever, right? Like he just learned how to use Apple Music like a little bit ago, Getting somebody like that to put all their information online to make an offer, there's probably a little bit of pushback. Now, he's only 63 years old. He shouldn't be that afraid of stuff, but I think that's a little bit of a hurdle. Now, people that are our age or younger, I don't think there's going to be a lot of worry about putting stuff on the internet, right? Or making offers. We click two buttons or we tell Alexa to order us, I said Alexa something. I just heard about, we tell Alexa to order new chips and they come to our house the next day. We stand around and we're used to these products. But that's the only thing I could think of with consumers is there's a little bit of fear going into the internet for a certain segment of society.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's where for consumers, it's so important that the data of the consumer, certainly on final offer, is protected. Right. It is not exposed. That is private, is not exposed to anybody or sold to anybody.
Right.
When it comes to the agents, what's interesting, and we talked about this yesterday, is that, and I get the question too, like I love this industry.
Yeah.
I support this industry. I'm an advocate for this industry. I do not feel there's any world that the real estate agent will be replaced.
Yeah.
I don't think we should be marginalized in any way.
Right.
I believe that when you're looking at technology, we got to look at technology as a tool for us to use.
To help us.
Rather than another tool to use us.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a major factor. What I see is going to be happening in front of us here the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Is what agents will adapt these tools to create a better experience for everybody involved. And, when you look at the stats in DC Metro, which we understand very well, the average agent in the DC Metro, overall average, is 98%. What that means is that from when they list the house, on average, they're going to sell for 98% of the original list price.
Pretty good.
Taking 2% less.
Sure.
If around the U.S., there's some areas that they would like, that's really good.
Yeah.
DC Metro, that's where we are right now. What's interesting with final offer is that the average agent that uses final offer is getting 106% of the original list price. getting 8% more money for the seller on average just by using the platform.
Numbers talk.
They do, and it's not. I'm not trying to be, but
Somebody one time said people lie. Numbers tell the truth. So
well, Donny,
I like those numbers.
I like the numbers too, because since I've been using Final Offer for the last 16 months, my listings on average are receiving 112% of the original list price.
Can you list my home?
We can sort of discuss that. I'll be happy. I think you got a good agent.
Yeah,
I think you got a good
agent.
I'll just help them, guide them through Final Offer.
Perfect.
But see,
112%. You said. So I stepped on your line there.
No, it's 112% of the original list price, which
pretty great.
So it's so much that it doesn't marginalize agents. It exposes agents for who they are and how they do their business, which I think is so very important. And I think consumers deserve to know the truth, because it's funny. You and I know this just as well as anybody else. How many agents in our market area run around and advertise that they're the number one agent in the market?
A lot of number ones out there.
How many number ones should there actually
There's a lot of, I have multiple number ones in my own brokerage.
Because there are multiple in some households.
I stopped arguing with somebody. It's like, you're number one, whatever.
Consumers are tired of the fluff.
Oh, sure.
They need to know what's real. And what I see as an opportunity with Final Offer is not only to be able to create the very best outcome for everybody involved, but it allows us as agents to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace through results-driven marketing campaigns. And I just, for me, that's where I find it to be so valuable. We can protect our industry, but in order to be able to demand those types of results, you've got to demand to become better.
Yeah.
And there's going to be certain agents that are going to see the opportunity that's in front of them, and they're going to take it head on, and some are going to, hide in the corner and
some are going to hide and change. I think that's the only, change is hard, right? For people, it's so we're already kind of working through some change. And I think that, somebody yesterday had a great line. It was, entrepreneurs, and really everybody that's in real estate is an entrepreneur on some level. Like you and I might be a little bit more entrepreneurial than most because we run our own brokerages, run our own teams, run our own things. And but entrepreneurs are wired to find the solutions and not sit and be depressed about what's happening around us, that we're going to find the solution to push through it, right? And I think that the people that do that and maybe it's jump into the Final Offers and differentiate yourself with this new product, but the people that do these things and continue, they're going to thrive through all this, but and this might be a great product that can help us even better through this, is to show that extra value and, to be transparent with the whole process at a time when people question whether we are transparent.
Yeah, it's interesting. Final Offer has been running a survey for the last, number of months, and it's asking a question. The question is, do you trust, this is for agents, do you trust the other agent that you work with? It's a yes, no. I'm going to give you a stat. 91%.
Don't trust. Yeah.
91% of the people surveyed said they don't trust the other agent they work with. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. If we as agents don't trust the other people that we work with, how in the world can we ever expect a consumer to trust us?
To trust us, and that we're getting it from the other. It's a really sad statistic. I wouldn't have guessed that high, but I would have guessed that it was high. My dad, because I learned a lot from it, my dad never trusted the other side. I mean, I'm like maybe eternally optimistic or a pushover. I always trust what they're saying, and I probably shouldn't. Right? but I think most people don't, and that's a sad thing. But we're right. How can we expect the public to trust us when we don't even trust the other side?
It's a scary, stat. It's disappointing.
And then people do spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over list price because their buyer agent told them to. But I'll bet you most people that do that, they don't really believe that the other offer's there. It's the same reason that people don't make offers and they introduce the escalation clause, because they want you to be able to prove that you just barely beat the other offer. Stuff like that. And that's because there's a lack of trust.
And that's been some of the value with Final Offer, is that for the buyers that are using Final Offer, I mean, just think about it. How many times as agents in your office, we're in a competitive situation with a particular buyer, multiple offers were coming in, and ultimately they lost. They were not the winning, offer. Right. And then settlement occurs 30, 45 days later. That buyer then sees what the home closes for and goes back to the agent and say, hey, if I would have known, all I had to do is pay $5,000 more.
I would have done it.
I would have done it.
Right.
So that's an important factor. Or on the other side of the transaction is the seller. Well, what's the number one concern for a seller? They just want to be in a position to sell their home for as much money as possible with the very best terms. But through our experience, we know that the only way we can ever ensure that happens for a seller is by demanding competition, exposing them to as many qualified buyers as possible, ensuring that we can create an environment where those buyers, those qualified buyers, have an opportunity to compete.
Right.
And when they can compete, the seller will receive the very best price and terms for their home.
Yeah, because the competition then takes over too, right? We talked about that factor that, you stare it right in the face, and some people think they're going to talk themselves in a bit more, probably, right?
Well, for the buyers, they'll never feel like they overpay because they know exactly what they're competing against.
And at least they know. If they walk away, the other, and unintended, as I'm sitting here talking to you, is as a buyer's agent, once our buyers lose 3 or 4, they inherently start to blame us, even if we're the best agent in the world, right? Because they weren't willing to spend enough to get there, but it's our fault because we lost, right? Well, now they can't really look at the buyer agent anymore. They were online looking at it the same way we were. It's like, do you want to pay that number or not? But at least it's not our fault anymore, right?
Well, that's right, because our job as agents is to, in order to offer value to the people that we serve. Value is another one of those big words, right?
Yeah.
Well, we look at value a little differently now. We look at value to say, okay, what kind of unique value can we provide to a consumer that they think they know, but they don't know, in a world that consumers have access to all the information that they ever wanted.
Yeah.
But us as agents, we have got to elevate the value that we provide, saying, we're going to educate you beyond what you can look up on Google or ChatGPT. What is it you think you know, but you don't know? And with Final Offer, we're able to kind of show what's directly behind the curtain.
Sure.
To educate you, set proper expectations, so that you ultimately get the outcome that you desire as not only a seller, but also a buyer. But once again, for the agents that are listening to this is not to replace us. The only way you can use Final Offer is if you're working with an agent.
Right.
Bottom line.
And I think that's important. And I know that almost all the leadership of Final Offer are realtors, if not all of it. So, that does give you a certain comfort that, that's going to stay a core of what Final Offer is about, is the agents, but helping us to conduct our business better, not trying to replace us in any way, shape, or form.
That's right. That's right. Well, Donny, like this time that we got to spend together.
A plus.
Oh,
yeah, there we go.
Just in closing, I mean, we're here at the Gathering of Eagles Housing Wire Conference here. A lot going on in our industry. We can say what's the best advice for a year, 3 years, 10 years. But you know what? I think more importantly right now for the agents that we're speaking to, what's the best advice you can give them for the next, say, 3 months?
Don't hide. Stay connected. Your brokerage, whatever it is that you work for, your brokers and your broker leaders are there to help you. Be a part of it. Lean in if you're scared. Lean in, and they will be there for you to help support you. They've all got education. They've all got tools. And if they don't, come over and I'll lean on you. You can lean on our support and serve. But really, it's don't be overwhelmed with the negative press you see. Most consumers, are not anti-realtor. They all want realtors. We just have to articulate how we're going to support them better. But the best thing I can tell you for the next 3 months is we're going to be okay. There's been so many major shifts and so many major curveballs thrown in our industry through the years. The real estate profession is fantastic. We help people with their most important thing, buying and selling a home, selling the idea of home ownership. We are going to get through this, but if you're anxious about how you're going to do it, get with people that will make you feel better, whether it's team leads, broker leads, brokerage management, or ownership. We lean into other people and they'll get you through this, and we're all going to be great, and just stay optimistic, not pessimistic every day. Control what you can control. The other one I love control what you can control. Like, you can't control some of the noise out here. You control your attitude every day about how you take on your job. And I love that part of it.
Donny, thank you for that.
Yeah.
I appreciate your guidance there. I appreciate your authenticity. You're being extremely genuine. I appreciate that. But Donny, how can the viewers find you?
Oh, that's awesome.
You're hearing what he's saying. He's a good leader. How do I find you?
So, SamsonProperties.net is our webpage, but joinsamson.com is a great one. My information is all over, but Donny Samson at SamsonProperties.net is my email, and I'm available all over the place. But I love the idea of helping realtors. The reason my dad really grew our brokerage in the beginning was he loved changing people's lives. He loved the idea that in real estate, you get to eat what you can kill. You can create your own destiny in this world. And I've still never lost that love of that, that if you want to be successful in real estate. So if the life you have right now is not what you want in real estate, we can help you get there, and I think that the idea that work harder, get educated, pound the pavement, you can be successful and make as much money as you want to make in this industry. And that's why I love this profession too, is helping people, change their families' lives and change their lives. So yeah, join Samson.com and find Donny Samson. I'm always here to talk to everybody.
Donny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us here. I'm Nathan Dart with Final Offer. Donny, again, thank you, and we'll see you out there.
Take care.